Let's go to Steven in Newburgh. What's going on, Steven?
Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Good, Steven. What's up today?
So just calling, I try to call in around December, January after Diaz and Alonso, went on to elsewhere. And just the fact that I have no confidence in Stearns whatsoever, going back to the trade deadlines from last year, from like Mullins to Helsley to the guys that they traded in the offseason, like Nimmo, who's having a good start to the year so far. And, Simeon not doing much. That might just be the bigger problem, the bigger picture, that just don't have any confidence in Stearns whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, as we sit here right now, it's hard to have confidence. It'd basically be saying that you have blind faith because everything since the trade deadline that he has touched hasn't turned into much of anything. But I still will stand by the fact that I had no problem shaking the clubhouse up and getting rid of those guys. It's just a matter of replacing them with the right players. And so far, the three big additions that you brought in to start every day, well, I guess four in Luis Robert Jr., but three out of the four in Bichette, Simeon, and Polanco have been massive disappointments early on. So, yeah, I want to give you a positive outlook on the moves that David Stearns has made, but that would just be lying to you right now until we see it. Because I know these guys have track records, they're veterans, but that doesn't mean that they can't come here towards the end of their career because they're veteran players and put together a miserable year. That's a possibility as well. And by the way, Marcus Simeon has been on the decline the last 2 years offensively.
So he gave Juan Soto a 15-year, $765 million contract with a suite at the stadium.
Well, that was more Cohen,
I know, but that's what I'm saying to you. That's not a hard thing to do. They offered the most money, the most perks, and Juan Soto, basically for what he had done up to that point, is now getting paid to recreate all the things that he has done in the past. Okay, they brought in Frankie Montas, they brought in Clay Holmes, they brought in Griffin Canning, A.J. Minter, Jose Siri, Sean Manaea. They added Ryan Helsley last year. They brought in Tyler Rogers, Cedric Mullins. I mean, these are all the people that they brought in last year. And I would say that it didn't work out. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, they collapsed and missed the postseason.
And then we just went over the whole Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil stuff, and they bring in Simeon, Bichette, Polanco, Robert Jr. They traded their top prospects for Freddie Peralta. I don't think people really were down on that one, but they're going to have to come up with a contract extension for Freddie Peralta at some point.
Yeah. And I think they will. I'm pretty sure that they will. He doesn't have Boris as an agent. Maybe it happens during the season because he doesn't have Boris as an agent. Another thing that we've talked about, but maybe not enough, is the Mets, when you spend so much money on bringing in players, you're going to, in order to be a good team, you're going to need to have some of your young homegrown guys turn into something in their pre-arbitration years when you've got them under control and they're inexpensive because you're spending so much money everywhere else.
That's what Brett Beatty is. That's what Vientos is. That's what Alvarez is.
And Benj.
And Benj is. And McClain is.
Well, McClain, yes. I'm talking about the position players for a second because McClain obviously has been awesome for them. But those guys that you mentioned prior to that have essentially all been duds. Now, Benj, it's very, very early, but outside of the performance in the postseason by Vientos in 2024, he's been a dud. Brett Beatty has never even come close to his potential. Francisco Alvarez, who was the number one prospect in baseball, has shown flashes, but has never been consistent, and he's been hurt all the time.
Well, they traded away their three homegrown prospects that turned out to be something, and that was McNeil, Nimmo, and Alonso.
Yeah, but those guys had been here for a very long time.
Yes. Yeah, but what I'm saying, but they were guys that grew up in the system, and they ended up, trading away all three of them.
Yeah, those guys are gone. The guys I'm talking about are still here and not producing, and that's a big problem.